There is a question that weighs heavily on the minds of many people across the world today. It surfaces in quiet conversations and in the headlines of major news outlets. Is the Russian Federation actively preparing for a direct, large-scale military conflict with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO? This is a profound and unsettling possibility, one that demands a careful, clear-eyed examination of the available evidence. To understand the situation, we must set aside panic and emotion. We need to look at the facts methodically, piecing together a picture from open-source information, official statements, the observable actions of all parties involved. A calm and rational approach is our best tool for navigating this complex issue. First, it is crucial to define what preparing for war truly means in a modern context. This is not a simple single action, but a complex mosaic of activities. Preparations can include the physical movement of military units, such as soldiers, tanks, artillery, towards strategic locations. It can involve a significant increase in the production of weapons, ammunition, other military hardware. Governments may also enact legal changes granting emergency powers, shifting the national economy onto a war footing. These preparations also encompass extensive military exercises to test war plans, enhance troop coordination, and signal capability to potential adversaries. When analysts and governments try to determine a nation's intentions, they first look at its military posture. In recent times, there have been numerous reports citing increased activity from the Russian military. This includes large-scale military exercises, drills, conducted near the borders of NATO member states. These are not just routine training events. Their scale and location are often seen as a deliberate signal of strength and preparedness. Open-source intelligence and commercial satellite imagery show movement of troops and heavy equipment to new or expanded military bases. This is particularly notable in Russia's western military districts. The construction of new fuel depots, ammunition storage facilities, logistical hubs. An army cannot fight for long without a robust supply chain. Russia has announced successful tests of advanced missiles, including hypersonic weapons. They travel at more than 5 times the speed of sound, and are extremely difficult to intercept with current missile defenses. In recent years, rhetoric from some Russian leaders regarding NATO has become increasingly harsh and confrontational. The alliance is frequently described as aggressive expansionist and a direct threat to Russia's national security. This drumbeat of foreign threat can justify increased military spending and rally the public around the flag. This tough talk is not just domestic, it is also meant for the world. Repeating red lines and warning severe consequences aims to influence NATO decision-making. Language can create a dangerous feedback loop. This dynamic, defensive words seen as offensive, is a classic security dilemma. Remember, words and actions aren't always aligned. They build capability, and that creates strategic options that were not previously available. NATO has not been a passive observer of Russia's actions and rhetoric, and the alliance has undertaken its most significant collective defense reinforcement since the Cold War. In response to Russia's military activities, NATO has implemented a strategy of enhanced forward presence. This means it has deployed multinational, combat-ready battle groups to its easternmost member states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland. These forces are not large enough to single-handedly defeat a full-scale invasion, but that is not their primary purpose. Their role is to act as a tripwire. An attack on them would be an attack on soldiers from multiple NATO countries, including the United States, Germany, United Kingdom, automatically triggering the alliance's collective defense commitment. In addition to these ground forces, NATO has significantly increased its air patrols, sea patrols. Fighter jets from various member nations now routinely conduct air policing missions, intercepting Russian military aircraft that fly close to Allied airspace. While the signs of military preparation are real, there are equally powerful factors that argue against the likelihood of a direct Russia-NATO war. NATO, as an alliance of 32 nations, possesses overwhelming collective, economic, and conventional military strength. In a prolonged war, the combined industrial capacity, technological advantage, and the sheer number of personnel that NATO could bring to bear would be staggering. Sanctions imposed by Western countries have already placed stress on key sectors of the economy. Then there is the ultimate deterrent: nuclear weapons. Both Russia and several key NATO members, the United States, the United Kingdom, and France, possess vast arsenals of nuclear arms. This reality creates a condition known as mutually assured destruction. and any direct military conflict between nuclear-armed powers carries the terrifying risk of escalating to a nuclear exchange, which would result in unimaginable devastation for all sides and the world. This existential threat imposes a profound sense of caution on leaders. The fear of a small clash spiraling out of control into a global nuclear catastrophe is the single most powerful force preventing a great power war in the modern era. When considering the possibility of a conflict, it is a mistake to think only in terms of a full-scale conventional war. Modern competition between states often takes place in what is known as the gray zone. This is the space between peace and all-out war, where nations use coercive tools to achieve objectives without triggering a traditional military response. These methods include cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructure, financial institutions, government networks. Another key tactic in the gray zone is disinformation. This involves using state-controlled media, social media bots, other platforms to spread false or misleading narratives. The goal is to sow division, undermine trust in democratic institutions, weaken cohesion of alliances like NATO. Russia has also used political subversion and proxy forces. This can involve funding extremist political parties hostile to NATO, carrying out assassinations, instigating small-scale localized conflicts using irregular forces or private military companies. These actions create instability on an adversary's periphery and distract their attention and resources. Hybrid warfare combines conventional methods, unconventional methods. Many overt Russian military preparations may not signal imminent invasion, but provide a credible backdrop of military threat that makes gray zone activities more effective. When a country worries about a potential tank invasion, it may pay less attention to countering a sophisticated disinformation campaign. So after examining the evidence, where do we stand? The situation is complex and resists a simple yes or no answer. On one hand, the evidence clearly shows that Russia is significantly enhancing its military capabilities and readiness. Movement of troops, construction of logistical infrastructure, testing of advanced weapons, persistent hostile rhetoric. These actions give Russia more strategic options and increase its leverage in any potential crisis. On the other hand, readiness is not the same as intent. A decision to launch a war against NATO would be a monumental gamble with catastrophic potential costs for Russia. The alliance's overwhelming conventional military and economic power, the devastating consequences of a potential nuclear escalation, the certainty of crippling international isolation. It is plausible that Russia's military posture is designed not to start a war but to deter NATO, intimidate its neighbors, achieve strategic goals through coercion, use gray zone tactics, all while stopping short of a direct full-scale confrontation. The situation is a dangerous one, a classic security dilemma. Defensive moves by one side can be perceived as offensive by the other, fueling a cycle of escalation. The greatest immediate risks may not be from a premeditated all-out attack, but from a miscalculation. Therefore, the path forward requires a dual approach: vigilance and diplomacy. For NATO and its members, maintaining a credible deterrent is essential. At the same time, keeping lines of communication open with Russia is crucial to manage risks, avoid misunderstandings, and de-escalate potential crises. For citizens, the best course is calm watchfulness. We must seek out clear, fact-based information from multiple sources. The future is not yet written. The choices made in the coming months and years will determine whether peace can be preserved.